Hi, I'm Ken with TinyCircuits, and I'm joined today with Ben Rose, who's the main designer behind the TinyScreen. We launched TinyScreen last year on Kickstarter, and this makes it really nice and easy to create small little graphics projects. The screen stacks on top of the rest of the TinyDuino, and you can create things like video games, smartwatches, jewelry with this, and it's been extremely popular. But one complaint we've heard is just the overall thickness of the stack. Here we've got the screen, a USB, processor, and a battery. So for things like a smartwatch, it's just kind of thick. And also the other big complaint is just the lack of memory. If you're doing something more graphics intensive, the lack of RAM just makes it a bit more difficult to do really high-end types of graphics projects. So today, we're excited to announce the TinyScreen Plus. And what's the main big difference on the TinyScreen Plus?
We've switched to the new Arduino Zero processor.
Very cool. And it's a 32-bit processor. How much memory does it have?
32K RAM, 256K flash.
And so the 32K RAM makes it really nice to do a full frame buffer of the screen, right?
Right.
And also the flash, instead of just storing one game perhaps, you can store quite a few games,
right.
Graphics internal. And also the speed of it, 48 megahertz versus 8 megahertz on the standard TinyDuino, just really lets you update the screen much quicker and do other things on the processor at the same time. So that's very cool. The other thing is, obviously the screen's on here. The next big thing is this, right?
Yes.
So USB.
Right.
So USB is built in directly into the TinyScreen Plus, and it's connected directly to the processor. And so obviously you can do a standard UART across it, but you could use it for other types of devices as well.
Right.
This also has a battery charger. How fast do we charge at?
100 milliamps.
100 milliamps. And so for a small battery, small lithium, that's all built in directly. The other cool thing is this connector is actually recessed a little bit. So when you put a battery in there, the cables don't come out the one side, so you can actually wrap it in there much nicer, like on this board. So the other big thing is this works just like a regular TinyScreen, right, from a sketch standpoint?
It's completely software compatible to the user.
Right, and we've got a library already ported over for the 32-bit, essentially the Zero processor, right?
Right.
But the cool thing is the sketches work exactly the same way. So all the games, smartwatch demos, and everything work the same, but it's faster and you can do more.
Right.
So it's really going to allow people to create much cooler games. And actually, Ben we've got Flappy Birds that goes much faster if you're familiar with the existing Flappy Birds.
Right.
So there's Flappy Birds speeding along really quick. But we also are working on some higher end things like a little Wolfenstein 3D perhaps. And so this is basically a little environment, 3D environment, which on the old processor you really couldn't do just due to the memory limitations and speed. Whereas now you can actually do some really pretty cool games and things with it, right?
Yeah, I think we'll definitely see some stuff that's much more interesting.
I see off to the side you have something else that's brand new. This is kind of top secret. No one's ever seen it yet. This is Tiny Controller, right?
So it might be called?
What it might be called. Basically, the big thing here is if you've seen the joysticks before with the TinyScreen, if you create a small arcade console or remote control, again, you have to stack a bunch of boards on here. This, very similar to TinyScreen Plus, everything is on one board, right?
Right.
So it's got the same Arduino Zero processor on it, also has the screen, USB, so it's basically the same as the TinyScreen Plus, but it adds
little joysticks. Audio output, and it's all still only about 6mm thick.
Yeah, so definitely much thinner. Audio output is a really cool feature of this new Arduino Zero. There's a built-in DAC, so we can pipe that directly out to an amplifier and a speaker. So this actually has a speaker built in as well. We're not officially releasing this yet, but it's going to be coming soon. The other cool thing is the joysticks on there are better. So if you use the old joysticks, they're kind of little PSP-type nubs, which are good for directions, but these are true analog joysticks. So for things like an RC controller, right, you could actually control speed much more accurately. The TinyScreen Plus, we're announcing it today. It's not for sale. It's for sale via Kickstarter. We're working with an 8-year-old kid out of San Francisco named Omkar, who we met, actually we heard via email in the spring, that was working on his own smartwatch for kids. So he designed a 3D enclosure, did some software for it, and we thought it was really cool. And we met Omkar at Bay Area Maker Fair, right? So we met him and his parents in May at Bay Area Maker Fair, and they were actually showing off the O Watch to people. And they got a lot of great feedback and decided to go forward and do a Kickstarter.
Right.
So we've been working with them for the last few months. They actually came up here to Ohio, met with us, went through the whole product, and that's why we kind of rushed the TinyScreen Plus, was it really works perfectly for a smartwatch. And so the only way to get the TinyScreen Plus now is to back the O Watch project, which launches today. And it's actually very reasonable. The nice thing, too, is it's a bit of a cost reduction as opposed to all the different boards, yet the performance increase is huge. And also just the fact that it's so thin is also really cool. So definitely check out the O Watch Kickstarter. It's going on today. Back it. Get your hands on TinyScreen Plus. And we look forward to talking to you soon.